Okay, so this is the project for the day. This is actually Eric's. Eric has hurt his knee, so he's giving this project to me to do. Cleo, you need to go to the house. You're gonna get all dirty out here. Go to the house. Go on, go home. Go on, good girl. She's not a good shop dog. Anyway, this thing has been broken. These pieces here are bowed. You can see. There's a bit of a crack there and that. I don't know. I'm gonna try to look it over good and make sure we don't have anything up here that's gonna break loose. What they're gonna do with this, it goes on a skid steer, it's a boom, and Eric uses it to lift trusses sometimes. And it's broken. It got overused, overloaded, and stretched it till it broke right there. But we've got some new tubing. I suggested maybe we could straighten this out and then maybe reinforce it with some angle, but Eric said he'd rather just put new tubing on it, so it'll take a little bit longer to do it that way, but that's fine. He owns it. He's gonna be the one using it, so I'd just assume he was happy with how it turned out. So anyway, I got to get to work torching this up. Gonna save this plate, and I'm gonna try to save this angle. It's a little rough, but I'm gonna try to save it anyway. I mean, it's functional. Try to save this part with the holes. You can see they've been used a little bit. Eric says they don't ever move that, but anyway, ought to be a mess. What it's going to be, it's going to be a mess. Not much any way around it. Trying to get this apart and then putting everything back to the same angles that this was built. I mean, we got two angles coming in different places. So what I'm gonna try to do though is just measure the pieces I got and cut the new ones the same. I use an angle finder to get these angles. I don't know if you can see, this one here is kind of coming in at an angle, but this one's coming in at a double angle. So we'll have to do like a compound there. And this is just, I think they call that 11 gauge tubing. It's like almost 1/8 inch thick, something like that. So there's a little bit of, I mean, when they built it, I think they used a MIG, looks like, but we won't be using a MIG, be using a good old stick welder. Anyway, I'm gonna try to set up here and maybe get some footage of this mess. Anyhow, it looks like I need to probably set it down and get that end cut off first and kind of go from there. Notice, and I probably should try to straighten it. I think this piece here was an afterthought after they built this, because this piece here is bent, and I think probably what I should do is take a couple of pieces of the extra tubing we got and come off of the corners. I probably should cut this off and straighten this piece first. Probably just take the backhoe and set it on there and try to flatten it out a little bit first, and then we will, you know, fix it to where that doesn't happen again. But it looks like it was a weak point in this plate. I mean, you got well, the way a bobcat connects is basically off of a lip on the top of that plate, so that's kind of a dangerous design. It would be better if you had 2 more points of contact on there. It'd be a lot stronger. So I think I'm going to modify it a little bit, make it just a little bit different, just for the fact that I don't want to see it break. I don't want to see it hurt somebody. So that's kind of what I'm up to now. I think is just kind of got to go ahead and clean this plate up, grind it, and then I'll get back to figuring out my cuts. I think the easy part's done. It's gonna get tricky from here out. Look, I need to hit it again. One more time. Okay, see if it springs back up. That's pretty tough stuff to bend. I can't really, kind of hard to believe it bends, but I think the problem is, if I'm not mistaken, the mounting tabs on the front of the quick connect on the bobcat or skid steer are out at each end, so there's really no support right directly in the center. So it needs that load transferred all the way across, and I'm not real sure. There's a couple ways that could be done. One I've got in mind is to use some extra tubing we've got left over and make some angles. Probably the quickest way would be to add a piece of maybe angle iron on across here. That might be what we end up needing to do, because it would definitely give you more strength on your tie into your tubing here, and it would transfer that load better. But we'll see. I'm going to go ahead and put it together the way it was. I'm basically going to use my angle finders. These are pretty handy tools, and this will get us real close. I think I'm going to use one angle finder this direction, and then the other will go on our vertical angle. So what we'll do is we'll lay out a point here. Everything will be laid out off of that point down on the angles we have. We'll use this angle for top and bottom. This angle will be for top and bottom, and then this angle will be for each side. So worked out pretty good. Okay, I've decided to do this different. I don't like the way they did it. I don't like the way I was fixing to do it. What I'm gonna try to do is cut a little wedge out of each side and then bend these pieces together. This is gonna be kind of a tricky cut, but the reason I wanna do that is it preserves the strength of the tube all the way to the end. If we weld this back together after we bend it, then we should be just as strong all the way to the end of the, all the way out to the end there. So that's the reason I want to do it that way. I think it will work. We're fixing to find out if I can make that cut. Sharp tip. sort of like that. A piece that didn't come out there. You can't mess around with thin stuff when you're cutting. You got to cut it quick. Now, I need to, shouldn't have did that obviously. Now I need to go ahead and cut my radiuses in the end of this so it'll fit into the notch. I'm not even sure, I know I won't be able to weld that up, so I'm going to leave a hole at the bottom and at the back so that water can drain out. There's no way to seal this end off. After I put all this together, it's going to pretty much be open on the end. Not really any way to change that, but I like this better. At least we got the strength of these four sides coming out, and I'll be able to get a weld on all four sides of that, so it'll be stronger, I think. That's the reason I did it that way anyway. I don't know if it's actually a good idea or not. So here's the finished boom. Finished as it's going to get here. Eric's going to have to paint it. I don't do paint very well. Anyway, I ended up adding these V-braces back, and the reason for that is whenever you're connected to a skid steer plate, you don't really have any support in the center. Your mounting brackets are on each end, so this plate had been bent and I straightened it, so this was what I thought would probably, it was not the quickest way to do it because that's like a compound angle on both of those and kind of a mess. But anyway, 70-18 rod for the most part. I did a little bit of 60-10 on some stuff that was not fitting just perfect. As you can tell, there was a few joints that didn't fit perfect. So, but they're all good solid joints now. Burned them in with some 70-18. And anyway, got this one done. I'm so glad it's done. It was probably about as fast to build it the first time as it was to rebuild it the second. Except for I didn't have to build the hinges and all that stuff up there, so you know, there's a lot there I didn't mess with. So, but you know, it takes time to do that stuff, and I like this way of doing this better because I was able to come in here and I basically just kind of did a sort of an orange peel on that rectangle or that square tube, and I tapered it so it would fit between these. So we got the full strength of both sides, top and bottom. Stitched it up on the bottom too, just like I did on the top. So everything's pretty solid. I think it's ready to go to work. Hopefully it's safe. I don't have a load chart on it. Eric said he wanted a load chart. I forgot to do that. I need to make him a load chart. Basically, it's going to say you use common sense. This is a skid steer attachment. It could kill you. You know, but I tell you what, on a small skid steer, this thing probably would never get broke because it would probably tip you over. But on a big, I think the skid steer they're using it on is 100 and some horsepower, so it will break it. This tubing's not super thick, so you know it could be broke again. Hopefully that won't happen.